Hey folks, happy Easter to you. I'm recording this just after Easter Sunday services, and so that it will show Monday morning. So happy Easter. We continue our our April resurrection prayer calendar. Today we're in the Gospel of Luke chapter 7. As you turn there, I just remind you that Easter is not a day. Easter is a season in the church. And so we don't talk about resurrection one day, but it continues. So there's a season. And we have the opportunity to continue reflecting on resurrection. So Luke chapter 7, verse 11 is where we are. Luke 7, verse 11. 11 through 17 is where I'm going. Soon afterwards, he went to a town called Nain, and his disciples and a large crowd went with him. As he approached the gate of the town, a man who had died was being carried out. He was his mother's only son, and she was a widow, and with her was a large crowd from the town. When the Lord saw her, he had compassion for her, and he said to her, "Do not weep." Then he came forward and touched the bier, and the bearers stood still. And he said, "Young man, I say to you, rise." The dead man sat up and began to speak, and Jesus gave him to his mother. Fear seized all of them, and they glorified God, saying, "A great prophet has risen among us, and God has looked favorably on his people." This word about him spread throughout Judea and all the surrounding country. Now, a great miracle story. He brings a guy back to life, and notice, we don't know anything about his faith, his mother's faith, the faith of the people. We know nothing. I cannot stress enough how important it is for us to understand that the blessings of God, or the grace of God, or the love of God, or in this case, the healing of God, comes prior to our faith, not because of our faith. God doesn't act in our lives because we are good or we are faithful. God's actions in our life are what cause us to be good and cause us to be faithful. So God is trying to sort of win our attention. So that's a piece that I think is really important in this story. I think another thing that's important in this story is how we understand it today. So in that day, the function of the death to life miracles was in a way to prove who Jesus was, that he really was the Messiah. And though there are some who have witnessed these kinds of miracles in this life, it's not as if it's something that we see every day all the time anymore. And so part of what we do in reading these passages is to spiritualize them a bit. So we think about the actual man who was raised from the dead there. Then we think of the sort of spiritualization of this passage, the ways in which God raises us from the dead. The ways in which God brings new life into our lives, that it is both a physical resurrection of this man, but it's also sort of a spiritual, emotional, mental resurrection that we can imagine happening in everyone's lives, and that God is always bringing new life to us. And so lots to think about in that passage, lots to celebrate on this Easter Sunday. God bless. Have a great week.